up. What did they say? This is the fourth week? No, third week. She's up to 92%. So
Better than where she were.
scary. That was really scary. So especially when the chaplain walks in the room, you know, like,
Yeah.
this is serious. I guess I better pay attention.
Oh, good to hear she's doing better.
Yeah, thank you.
Clay, we need backup. But pricing, yeah. We'll talk about that when you ask me to sign the paper.
That's coming up.
Yeah.
But you know what? No, it's not. You've already signed one, so I don't think you have to sign it.
Who else?
You did a long time ago.
Been drunk.
I got a copy.
Hi, Matt, with MJM.
Joe.
Nice to meet you.
He's gonna be taking my spot when I retire.
Oh, there you go.
And that's coming up really soon.
I know it's coming pretty fast. It is.
So if Taylor calls us and wants this sizing unit, we can just tell him, well,
Yep.
shouldn't have been last.
Yeah,
It is.
just you two gonna show up then?
There's another one, Council Modine, gonna be running late.
Yep, so we might as well.
Just keep going.
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna cover the unit heater section, then Randy will cover the infrared tube heaters and sizing and stuff.
Perfect.
Some of our selections on the venting, minimum height, stuff like that. The agenda is gonna be application advantages. We'll cover the 97% affinity unit. Other types of gas heat they have, then Randy will take over design. Design features.
You left man in is supposed to have known.
Yeah, not too.
Thank you. Bro, dude, late. You know,
Look right at But Randy will cover the design, some of the selection and application tips, and a lot of questions answered. He'll actually go over some sizing with it too, some pictures, layouts and diagrams and stuff like that, so we can actually go through, see how we size it. So prime applications, I'm gonna talk just about the gas powered unit here, the first part of this presentation. So of course, you get it for comfort cooling, freeze protection, greenhouses, garages, mechanical rooms, anywhere you need heat, you can use those products.
Even in a bar.
Yeah, if you want to, they have those good to go up to flat, or where's that? Is it
Roundup.
on the ground up they have, and they have one up at Canyon Ferry too, that they have one that way.
Sold that one.
Who did? You did? Some of the benefits of gas heat heaters compared to things are relatively low cost. They're easy to install, easy to maintain.
Stop.
Yep.
We need some demos. Can you get us 3 for our garage?
As
Yeah,
soon
they might be warranty.
as soon as I get one from my garage.
Yeah.
On the 15th?
Yeah, the 15th.
Yeah. So they don't require any floor space. They don't take up space on board, furnace or boiler. They're not like a rooftop. You put them on the roof and cranes and stuff. You use multiple units, so you don't have no heat situation, of course. And you can have zone control. So if you have multiple units, you can turn one off. Highest efficient they have is in off position. Also, unit here do circulate the air that's stratified up in the ceiling from other, people, loads and stuff in the building. Do have a quick response time if you set them back at night. People in garages and businesses set them back, they can get pretty fast, catch it back up on the heat. In the summertime, you can circulate air by just a summer mode with the fans on them. So people want air circulation in the summertime, you can get a control that just circulates the fan. Let's talk about the different styles of them, power vented. Of course, you guys are all used to the hot dog. 30,000, 125,000. They do have those in a blower type too. And we'll talk about the propeller type and the blower type, both advantages and disadvantages to each one of those. They have the PDP and the BDP, which is a blower style. The PTP, which in the future we think probably replacing the PDP. One thing to be aware of is the PDPs have, if you replace them with a PTP, this style, can't see earlier, but this style here, they don't mount the same. So be aware of that. That's might be in the future. If somebody's going to replace that type of unit, it's not going to be identical. But the great thing about the PTPs is all the controls are inside the unit like the hot dogs. They're not hanging out back like the PDPs. So there's some advantages. They do have their separated combustion unit heaters and the hot dogs have HDSs. the PTSs, and then the BTSs are the blower series in that same PTS style. So if you guys are calling us, or you have customers calling you guys for parts and pieces, in the old days, they used to have on the nameplate part numbers on, which is really nice. Now they do not. So make sure you get a complete model number and serial number, because it does have serial, the serial number does have date codes, control codes and stuff like that, in case they did change a gas valve or an ignition board. They're pretty similar, but they might have something a little different on, so that does help. And everybody always has a model serial number, right? When they call you, they have a PDP 150 and I need this for it, so. Which that's another one that's pretty common, you know, it's all superseded over a lot of it, but just to be cautious of that. Okay, we're gonna talk about the unit heater selection and the mounting heights. So if you didn't know in the installation manual, they do have a maximum mounting height on them, of course. So if people hang above that,
Why?
you might run into issues because you're not gonna get the airflow. You know, if you look here, you can put downturn and stuff on there. We'll talk about different applications for that, but if you do hang them too high, you're not gonna get the airflow. You can put downturn stuff on to get that, that Modine does sell. But just be careful of that. You can't put the enhancing nozzles on the, like the blower units have, that's I'll show you, which they direct the velocity down more. And for blower unit, you can put ductwork and stuff we'll talk about. But make sure the maximum mounting height is the bottom of the unit. I do have charts a little bit later here that show the airflow at those heights. So. One thing with spot heating, if you only have 1 or 2 units, very important to make sure you cover the area that the customer is looking for. If you have multiple units in a building, it's, you know, got the flywheel effect, so it's circulating around. But if you just have 1 here and 1 here, you know, it's direct and spot heat, make sure it does cover them. And they say 75% of heat throw is a rule of thumb.
75 to 80%.
Yeah, 75 to 80% of the heat, you know, throw to cover your area. So as a rule of thumb. So we're going to talk about just the standard propeller units. You cannot have any static pressures. You can't have ductwork and stuff like that too. You can have deflector blades, hoods or stuff we'll put on those if you get above the maximum mounting height. Of course, these will be a little bit lower cost than the blower units. They do make them in HD, the PDP and the power vented, and the separated combustion HDS and PTSs. And also the PTC, the Affinity 93 high efficiency is separated combustion. So I talked about the mounting heights here. You guys see that? So I use in the standard propellers and the blowers, I use a 200,000 BTU, for example, and all. So we have the PDP over here, it's 15 feet. The PTP, which is the red too, is 15 feet. That's maximum mounting height. So in installation manual, all this is in there. So make sure people look at. If they hang that thing at 25 feet, they're probably not going to get what it says right below. It's probably just going to drop off. And you see the heat throw on the PDP is 51. And the PTP is 53. So heat throws are very similar on those two. We'll get into the blower series where it does make a big difference on the heat throw because you have a 3-speed blower on. Okay, let's talk about those blower units. So they can have up to 0.7 external static pressure. This means you can hook ductwork to them, velocity nozzles onto them. They can have so you can direct it where you want more. They're going to be a quieter operation than the propeller type because it is a blower system. The cost will be a little bit higher because you put a motor and a housing through the back of that unit. They do make them the same series, the HDBs, which will then be on that blower, the BDPs, which are power unit series, and the HDCs, the BTSs as separated combustions.
You know, you said the PDPs are gonna become these.
That's what Modine wants.
That's what he wants.
Is that because of the energy efficiency motors that are, like the furnaces are already getting?
No, absolutely not. Because commercial isn't really, and residential is not going to be qualified for that, especially in a spot heat like that. Where it's going to come from is a cost comparison.
These are cheaper.
They will be. At this point, they're not. Stop, think about it. How long does it take you to put 2 clamshells together, weld them to a manifold, where you can grab a tube that's pre-bed, weld 2 ends, you're done. You can make 5 tubular heat exchangers in the time you can take 1 clamshell.
If you watch those factory processes like at manufacturers, I've been to a couple where they show when they're put them together. You know, of course, a robot does the bending, the tube bending also puts them together and somebody sets them in there. But it's way more labor intensive for those clamshells. Because you can watch and they just put the straight tube in there, it bends all around, takes pictures, does it, stuff, you know. So time saving, so it's gonna be, of course, I think less expensive in the future. And they do have the BTC, the high efficiency with some of the models have the blower on them, so you can work. Here's the BDP. So we're talking about the blower style units with the on the back. As you see, I did a 200,000 BDP, which is similar to the PDP 200, which was 15 feet for maximum mounting height. Now you have 9 feet, 12 feet, and 22 feet. And your airflows are going to vary on that too, from 33 to 77 feet at the max mounting height. They do have a minimum mounting height down in the very bottom I highlighted, which is 7 feet. But the heat throw that goes all the way up to 115 feet. So if you have somewhere where you gotta get here a long ways, the blower unit's what you'd be looking for, or if you want to put ductwork onto it. Any questions on those units? And like I said, they do have 3-speed motors on, that's why it's different mounting rates. Low, medium, and high. Then we did talk a little bit about separate combustion, those model numbers. So some advantages are you take that for combustion, so you don't have stuff in the harsh environment. Also, you're not taking inside air for combustion, so you're saving a few BTUs from the infiltration of that.
And for you guys, you get a call that they want sealed combustion.
Yeah.
These aren't sealed. You can't put it in any kind of a explosive environment. Yeah, correct. So separated is like just bringing in fresh.
Bringing in fresh air.
Flame is enclosed from inflammable gas. Okay.
So,
So
yeah.
I run into that a lot in my ears where you just gotta go, oh, no.
We don't-
No.
Yeah.
Ask a few more questions about where they're gonna put it. Okay.
And so because of that separated combustion, you're bringing outside air in. So if you do have harsh environments like dusty and humid, stuff like that, not like explosive, but just dusty, you have separate combustion, bring that fresh air in to help for combustion. So your burners don't get as dirty. It does help that. You don't get the humidity as much inside there because you're bringing outside air in. Let's talk about the PTC. Do you guys sell a lot of these units? Do you guys?
Too high in money, I've hardly sold any of them.
Really?
Yeah.
Just because of the cost of them? Okay. So these are gonna
I'm
be,
surprised they haven't ever come a little more competitive because
Look at the difference between your 80% and 90% furnace,
$100.
$100.
between an 80 and a 90.
Well, this was 20 years ago.
Not till this year.
So they're gonna be more efficient. They have the same look and, sizes as the PTS, the separate combustions.
Well, do you guys sell a lot?
We actually do. I was surprised.
More than-
Commercial market. The thing with this, is I don't
No, go ahead.
jumping into it right here, but the big thing is that you can get in front of the end user. So he can see that. I mean, we're talking, the difference is probably a payoff of about 5 to 7 years between the difference. And it'll pay for itself in 15 years.
Yeah.
So by the energy savings, it's gonna, the extra money is well worth that. Now, with Montana getting rid of all the energy tax credits, that's gonna really help us. It used to help, but not anymore. But yeah, if you can get in front of the consumer and show him, okay, I'm gonna save you $500 this year in fuel, then that's what sells. It's not that it's a high efficiency. And of course, it is a higher maintenance item.
Yeah, so that's where the money saves. No, we do have how much you're gonna save up there. I've got situations where you tell somebody they're gonna save $200 or $300 a year. Just be very careful, say it's more efficient. You're gonna save this is an estimated amount of money you're gonna save. Because it might be turning that unit down to a higher temperature, might be colder that year, gas prices might go up. So just be very cautious, say you're gonna save this much money because if you go to this, it's this much more efficient. You could save up to this type thing. So on those. So if you use it in the garage, what's one thing you don't want to let them do in the garage with that at night? Since it's a condensing furnace. Don't let them turn down because you're gonna have moisture in there. So that's a big thing. Is people use it in garages because they're approved, of course. But if somebody's gonna go out there, they have a shop, and they're just gonna turn on when they go out there, well, it's probably not the best application for that unit. Even though they're gonna save the money, if they're turning it off, they're probably gonna,
Rid of their condensate, frozen, uninsulated garage.
Couldn't say pump it outside. It's typically what
For
we'll
you
see.
guys, is, you know, right?
Yeah. If you have a garage, that freezes that drain tube, you're gonna, you have to,
Switch,
yeah. If you're saying, I'm like,
block, man.
exactly. So here's some options. We'll talk about the stainless steel heat exchangers and when you want to use those, when you may want to use them. They have the downward deflectors, so make them 30, 60, and 90. Right to left deflectors. Vent caps, horizontal and vertical concentric kits for those separated combustion units. And of course, thermostats and some other options that we have available for them. So let's talk about the stainless steel heat exchanger. The rule of 40. So the air temperature is entering less than 55 degrees, or air temperature rises less than 40 degrees. Why do you think you'd want a stainless steel in an application?
Condensing.
There you go. So upon initial startup, it might get temped up where it gets rid of it, but initial startup or something, you might have that moisture in there. So, it's going to corrode it. So it's aluminized heat exchanger if you haven't gone to the stainless steel. Also, if your discharge temperature gets very high, what happens to aluminum or any kind of metal that's not like a stainless steel is you get a high temperature. You see it gets oxidization on it. So you got to be careful of that too. So there's some applications. Of course, everybody in their garage, I have to keep it this temperature. A lot of people don't go that, but you'll see the oxidation on the outside if they get a higher temperature rise. Or if it's cool, you have condensation building up on the inside of that or outside. Let's do, installation manual talks about clearances. So you just want to make sure you cover all those clearances for serviceability of that unit. So as we select the heating, as Randy will go into this a little bit later, first determine the heating requirements. Decide, have the BTUs you need, of course. Have a load on that. Ask the customer what they want, what they're trying to do with this. Are they just trying to spot heat? Are they going to keep it at 70 degrees in here? What they're actually going to do with it? Are they going to turn it down, come back out, and just want heat right now? So that might, when you're sizing it, you have your BTUs, but that selection you might change that a little bit just based on what they're using it for to fit their needs. And then you've done some of these, so just use your product knowledge to select the right piece of equipment. Because you'll narrow down to which piece you want to use just by asking a few questions. As we see here, Randy will go over this a little later, but we have a camper, we have cars, we have everything in here. So, you have a camper that might block airflow. There's shelves over there. Where are you going to place it? How are you going to vent it? Where do you want the air at? Where are they going to be working? Or are they just keeping vehicles? And it might be an infrared. We don't know how tall the ceiling is. It might work in there, it might not. As Randy will cover those. Venting guidelines. So I'm going to cover these, and I've told these for many years, right? And everybody call me say it says 3-inch vent pipe. I go to 4, all these different things. And the last couple of days, I've read the installation instructions multiple times just to try to figure out what those issues would be. And I think Randy will cover, I deep rating them, and I'll cover some venting, some stuff in venting that I think will help that too. Because you hear everybody saying limit switch is going out. I heard it all the time when I was over there. Call me on my limit switch, I had to go to 4-inch vent pipe. Okay. You can't really tell contract all the time. You have to suggest, it's not what it is. But we'll talk about that here. As you see, the hot dog 3375 3-inch vent. The 100s and 125s are 4-inch vent. And then the other models I've listed here. Minimum equivalent length of 3 feet on both of them.
Explain that
Minimum equivalent length.
for these gentlemen.
So it's got to be at least 3 feet. And I'll talk about that a little bit here. So as you come off the back of a unit heater, whatever you're using, they say they want 1 foot of pipe on the back there. Because you'll see a lot of guys, we'll dive into them a little bit here on the limit switch maybe. They come off the 90 and go up or do whatever they want to do. And you see it all the time. My garage, done that way. I'm not gonna lie. I didn't. No, I went through it. So I checked gas pressure stuff, said all that stuff. I didn't have the issues. But then Randy had done last year. So I'm like, oh my gosh, I got a solid amount of what am I gonna do? Right? I didn't have limit switch issues, but that could cause that because you're coming right out of that and hitting the 90. There's a wall. They want 1 foot there. And you have to have at least 3 feet. And we'll talk about how much the equivalent length a 3-inch elbow is and a 4-inch elbow is, 1 foot versus 5 feet and stuff like that. So you have to have a minimum length there.
It's typical because of the pressure switch.
Mhm.
Because what happens if you have a blower without any static on it, it over-revs big time. So it'll produce more air, which will cause it not to make the pressure switch. So you gotta have some restriction.
Yeah.
So.
Okay, we'll talk about the venting here. This is we're gonna talk about commercial and residential. We'll talk about the hot dogs or the PTPs or, there can be horizontally vented. Commercial application, you use category 1. Or vertical or horizontal. What, do you guys know what category 1 is? So it's B vent or it's not a stainless steel sealed vent. Category 3 is we'll talk about in residential. Is it sealed, it's got a gasket in there.
Fasten seal.
Exactly, yeah. Yeah, so in commercial, horizontal, vertical, we can do either of those. They talk about installation instructions on those. If you're going horizontal in a commercial application, as we see, everybody comes off the back of V-vent, goes horizontal, just hooks a bunch of V-vent together. We'll cover that. That's kind of a no-go in that application. But in the residential, if you're going horizontal, class 3, that's stainless steel, that's fast seal. One of those type of vents. So if a contractor comes back and says, I get dinged because of this, what's in the installation instructions to use that? So and there it is right there.
I had a guy to, show with Star Service. So he was, I think the garage was connected to the house or something. It was something that made it qualify for category 3.
All right.
And he had to use that stainless steel venting. And obviously like the cost of that stuff is like,
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
it's ridiculous. So, yeah, I don't know. That was the first time I ever ran into it because Joe, you probably tested this. Like a lot of times we'll just get a call and they'll call out like a hot dog or, occasionally like a PDP, but most of the time, that's all we, that's all that I really like run into. I ran into like you want to run at least 1 foot of straight pipe before you're 90. Cause with like you and Mike Taylor, just kind of helping me out.
There's a lot of people are going, they'll hang it.
All you can
Stand
do
up
is,
and they'll, it's like, what
Tom.
can I get?
Yeah.
There's not enough space to put that 1 foot piece on that.
all you can do is give them the recommendation.
To make it
Or just fail through.
that's
it.
But you should say you should come out 1 foot before you make it
I
out.
think that's a real problem there because what happens is they don't put it in right. They put it in the way they want to, and then I have to. I get called out of the job. We're done. You didn't fit according to factory recommendation, so I can't help it.
Right.
Yeah.
Sorry. You need to follow the instructions. The instructions is that piece of paper laying on, floorboard truck. So.
And I know where you guys are coming from too, because as I dealt with the wholesale side for many years, I had people that have been doing this for years, they call me and say, please read the instructions. Then I'll talk to you, because I got that where they'd have these little issues and they would change a little bit here and there. So once I'll just breeze through them because a lot of people don't. That's on the instructions.
Right. From where I've said all my years, I value my job maybe a little different than some people. The products that I sell kill people. The products that plumbing sell get them wet. So if you sell this to somebody that shouldn't have it, it falls into my heart. That's who I am, okay? Because I've literally told people after you talk to them, go, I'm not selling this to you. Especially when you go, these have to be set up. They're a gas tank. You have a manometer. What's that? Nah, I don't think I'm gonna sell that to you. Get my point?
Yeah.
And I'm gonna pick on Randy. Well, those should be a counter item. I said, yeah, Randy, and I've had more than once. I said, but that kills people and that should be a restricted sale, in my opinion. Because if you sell it and you don't tell the guy that you should do this and it's in the manual and all that.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
They don't vent it properly. Say gas pressure correct, all those things, combustion. It's
could be.
yeah, it can be very dangerous. So.
Yep. And I guess that would be like, usually like if I get like a special one, because I don't know the questions to ask it for, what you're talking about, like which, just ask them, what.
Yeah, which sizing and what to use and stuff.
Right.
You used it once you start doing it. It takes a little time.
Well, you got those people that did their research before they came in. So then you gotta give them the right one.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's an example of the horizontal venting we just had, not just, it was last year. 10 unit years, put in an apartment complex, all horizontally vented.
With B-Vent.
No, it's horizontal, yeah, it wouldn't be then. Inspector absolutely read the instructions. So I had to go back and change all those venting.
To stainless or?
Well, that's what he did, because he didn't want to go through the roof. It's so much cheaper to go through the roof than it is to do the stainless.
Yeah.
So he just redid everything and went out through the roof.
Cause you get,
So it's easier.
there's like, those people come in and it's like 20, 30 times since I was on the desk. You get those people that go and buy them at Home Depot or Lowe's and they come to you for venting.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know where you're putting this.
And that's the exact thing. If a guy buys it off the internet or from Joe's pawn shop, I'm not charged to read the manual.
Exactly.
You
I
read the
told him,
manual and you tell me what you want. Well, as soon as that guy, and I'm telling you what, I've had guys that go, well, here's the manual. I'm like, well, you know how to read? Well, yeah, well, then you tell me what I want. I'm not here to do your, I'm a wholesaler. You tell me what you want. I'll go
and then you're
fetch it.
like, you need this stainless steel venting and they're all. Back to Home Depot and get venting.
That's a lot.
Okay, that's not our
I
problem.
mean, if you were to screw
That's
it up,
on you.
then it's on you, but if you force them to tell you what they need, then it's, I mean, hey, this is, he came to me, asked me about this.
I don't read Sterling's manual for that customer. That's,
And all manufacturers have the same. Sterling, ADP, Resner, they all have the same code.
Or like code book or.
It's again.
So we'll talk about minimum clearances. Do you guys run into any like clearance issues with people doing stuff? Venting wise? Crazy codes you run into or anything like that around buildings? No? I'm just asking. Okay, pretty good. Okay. I know for a while there were utility companies and stuff once in a while.
I'm gonna be honest, you know, plumbers have their yearly plumbing code changes and stuff. I didn't see anything on them.
There is,
There is.
I've
The
tried,
back side of things is not licensed.
but
That's a problem,
Yeah.
in my opinion.
been about,
Plumbing, mechanical, all that is electrical is all locked down. You have to get licensed. HVAC,
You can hang a
I
shingle.
mean, I
up
could
to it.
go out tomorrow and start my own HVAC company. It's like, there's no codes, there's no laws that,
the last 20 years, we tried to get that to the legislature.
and they will.
And been up there, I've been probably 20 years now. And spoke to them about it, that we need to do this. Just, they don't get it.
Yeah, they don't spoke to like colleges, boards.
This
and
stuff
stuff.
kills people.
Yeah.
You got, I mean, you got people out there that
Depending on who your inspector
shouldn't be.
is, especially if you get the guys out of Belgrade, they read their stuff shit too.
That's, we're just talking about that. That guy that changed 10 units.
Yeah, because the guy read it. And I've done that in Belgrade too, went to big jobs at schools and different stuff. And it's all according to installation manual, but they read something in the installation manual of this product that contradicted what the other one said, so. You know, they're by the book, and if they read it and that's all they know, they're gonna go by the book.
We want somebody else to assume the liability.
That's exactly what one of these
He's
things.
the inspector, he signs off on it, and if it's wrong, it's his ass.
Yeah, just like what I'm getting, you sell it, they got, gonna go, he told me this would work. You know how that is, it's easier to point the finger at someone else than stand up. and man and call it.
Right.
I messed up, yeah. What we needed to fix it, yeah. So all the minimum clearances are in installation manual also, so just have them abide by those. It's read those as they call it questions. Everything is in there. Here's a fun one to talk about now. Under no circumstances should two sections of double wall vent pipe be joined together with one horizontal vent system due to the inability to verify the complete seal. So in residential, this is, you're supposed to use stainless steel, correct? And horizontal, but in commercial applications, make sure you come off. You don't come off you with double wall. And the installation instructions show you having a piece of V-vent going on your wall, your cap, whatever, and single wall, they tell you have to seal that too. As we look here, here's a vent pipe again, 3-inch, 4-inch. So 3-inch elbow and that equivalent length we talked about is equal to 1 foot. As you see up here, and the 4-inch elbow is equal to 5 foot.
So that's why you just recommend it right off the bat,
What's that?
go on betting and.
No.
Or,
No, some people, no, I'm saying people do that because when they were doing that, they had other issues, I think. They're
Oh.
either not derating the unit, which Randy will talk about, the elevation deration, altitude deration. But I think there's other issues that people have there when they're going to the bigger vent. Because the limit switch issue may just an overheat issue, so maybe you have too much gas. Not enough air that, stuff is, it's overheating it, so. But this will help you there. So in the installation structure, I do talk about, you might have somebody ask you, if they come on single wall, how do you seal it? They tell you there's certain tapes you can use, stuff like that. What screws you, screws that aren't gonna corrode, stainless steel screws. But they do talk about that. So if you do have questions on the venting in depth, you can actually pull up Modine, I like it on their website, Modine HVAC, and go to like a hot dog unit and their service installation manual. It says, there's like 5 pages. I read it last night again, so I'm like, there's new stuff I hadn't seen before, because it's, so I looked at 2010, I'm like, wow, this is different than the new installation one, so.
And the big thing is for years, you got beat up. Well, a furnace is a 2-inch inducer, okay? And venting furnaces is according to the inducer mostly, okay? For I don't know how many years, the same inducer in theory is on a 30 to 75 and it comes off with 3-inch, and guys would say, well, why can't I vent that with 3-inch?
Yeah.
And if you go to the vent tables for Duravent pipe, you can vent that unit with 3-inch, okay? Because the vent tables dictate how you can vent that from. But in the Modine installation manual, you had to increase to 4-inch, and people just, right? It was the biggest argument Modine ever had, is why do I gotta increase it? The inducer's 3-inch. And now that's the biggest change, is they went to, if it's 3-inch, the 30 through 75, that's what you can vent it to. This 100 and 125, the inducer is 4-inch, you can vent with 4-inch. Now I still have the guys that have put them all in. They, nope, give me a 3 to 4 increase, or I'm going to 4-inch. And they've done it forever, and I said, we can save money. Like, nope, I'm going to 4-inch. That's what I've always done.
Yeah, they'd argue each other to death on that, so. I ran into it all the time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how many calls I've taken over the years. Why do I gotta do that? It's like, because it's manual, but.
So I'm just about done talking about the unit heaters, and Randy will take over some other products that Modine has. They do have steam and hot water, electric and oil unit heaters also. Infrared tube heaters, which Randy will talk about. Indirect fired duct furnace, makeup air heaters, direct fired makeup air heaters, and then steam hot water cabinet unit heaters, and also ceiling cassette ACs. So any questions on the unit heaters before we move on?
One more thing on the commercial horizontal B vent, that has to be sealed if it's more than one piece.
Yeah, you cannot, so if you come off a unit, no, let me see.
I think the biggest missing key on gas product is venting. Nobody, I think every year you guys should have venting.
The same picture might be it.
Nobody knows about that product.
You really shouldn't put two pieces of B vent in a horizontal.
Horizontal, that's all I'm saying, yeah.
Vertical's okay. The second thing is you talked about screws. So what's the guy use for a screw? First thing they do is they grab a 3/4 inch Velcro screw right to the inner lining. You just destroy it.
Yeah.
You're supposed to only use 3/8 screws.
Yeah.
Just because, your B vents.
Yeah.
Like the little zip screws or
Yeah,
something.
little extras, yep.
Little, you don't want to penetrate.
So it's
the
not-
line.
You still get 8 by 3/8, and then you guys probably can stock.
No.
So, and then everybody's using it for half,
Yeah.
and you'll know that
Just
because whenever.
a couple washers underneath.
Yeah, that'll do that, right?
There you go, that'll work. As long as you get some shim on it.
Yeah. But yeah, and somebody vents it with like a single wall going and double wall, so just make sure your connections, if it's at point down, so water's going down, make sure they're not, when they insert those, so that's what they might have, they would drip right there.
And as far as tape goes, is taping the joints and stuff. So there are manufacturers, and we have to be one of them. Berry Products has tape especially made for high temperature, so it will seal. A lot of guys just use aluminum tape that you pull off your shelf out there, and it ain't gonna work. It's gonna peel. The adhesive will come off of the aluminum, it'll just fall off. RTV, the red RTV high temperature, that's acceptable. but it's a mess.
Yeah, doesn't look real good. Yeah. Well, I'll let Randy talk. There's no more questions about the heating, equipment, sizing and selection.
Thank you, Matt.
You're welcome.
Yep.
So, yeah, it's gonna be a good replacement.
I'm just curious because my dad just built a 48 by 48 garage with 16 to 15 foot from the floor to the rafters. And I can't remember what size. For that garage.
In here?
Yeah.
Well, we'll be able to tell you. Sure. We're gonna go through, we're gonna look at a calculation, so.
But then it falls into the, just like that. That's why you need to have questions, because you'll get a guy that's like, I just wanted it 40 degrees.
Well, that's
And the
what I
next
go.
guy's like, no, if I work out there, I want to be able to. Are you gonna leave it at 35 and come up to 70? Yep. And then you got to get, nope, that's gonna come from a freezing day and I want to heat it up. So there's 3 different sizes. that you got to take care of.
I told my dad, I said, are you gonna be out there all the time?
Well, probably not. I said, where do you want to keep it? 50 degrees probably all the time. I said, okay.
That's a good example with spring. You have a project go down there in Foresight. We put some unit heaters in there, everything's cool, yeah. Except they didn't tell us they were dragging those big earth movers in there,
All frozen.
all frozen, 20 below. You're dragging a big hunk of metal in there, that unit heater shut off. There's no way, you know?
Same thing with in-floor radiant heat.
Like a big, so you can just sit.
That turns into a, seriously, been there, done that, turns into a snow melt application, because that's what it has to be figured on. Because you're thawing out big frozen machinery and all that snow drops on the floor. There goes all your heat load. It just sucks up trying to melt all that moisture in there.
So again, that's the right question. That's important. You know the application, quiz them about it. You got a guy who comes in and say, hey, I want a unit heater for a 45,000 BTU. Well, what are you gonna use it for? Or how are you gonna vent it? Or, that's the right questions. Yeah.
Oh,
Well,
I'll tell you when you get into it. I got a couple projects I did with the Hoos and I signed off and said, no warranty, how about it? Here's the rule of thumb deal.
yeah.
I'll tell you later.
Okay.
Send me pictures.
Oh. And there is a method to selection equipment. I mean, it just, some of it is just common sense. Really, it's about what it is.
Don't be afraid to ask questions.
Yeah. ETU loss is really not your responsibility, but how many times do they come to you and say, I need an ETU loss? How many times do you two come to me and say, I need an ETU loss? And that's what we do. I mean, we actually have a program that we ran that's pretty entailed. But what we're gonna do today is we're gonna talk a little bit about kind of a quick method on how to do this. Matter of fact, if you open your sheets up, there is this one, the top one here. That actually gives you kind of a quick form to fill out. If you look inside, that'll give you a little place to fill in the blanks and fill in the U values and to calculate your BTU. So this is kind of not really a swag, but a quick method on that side. There is, of course, ASHRAE has one, ACT has one. Everybody has a heat gain or heat loss program to use. One we use is one that has been around for a long time that I've read. And from 52 years of experience, know what I need to size this properly. So, and so far, so I think wood in here. I've not had you to come back yet and say it's too small. So, you just have to understand some of the parameters, what goes on. If you look at here, here's that form. It's very simple, straightforward. You know the walls, you know the insulation value, you calculate it in, and you're good to go. That'll give you a rough method. Now, what I call swag, you know what swag stands for? Sophisticated wild ass guess. That's what swag stands for. So we can use this formula here, and typically if you're going to do volume of area, because a lot of times you'll have a 20-foot ceiling, so sometimes the square footage doesn't really work. If you can use 3 to 4 BTUs per cubic foot, 30 to 50 BTUs per square foot. And that kind of not, just don't use that, but if you use this calculation here and you come and find out that, oh, well, I'm at 25 BTUs per square foot, okay, there's something wrong. You put something wrong in that calculation. So look at that. Important thing is if you got a large building and you don't have a lot of heat loss, and you're gonna run into that, is you gotta look at air changes. 2 to 3 air changes is something that you want to look at. That's how much air movement's in the room. Because if you don't have that air movement, the heat's not going to go anywhere. It's just going to sit there. So you need some air changes. So, and again, just be very careful when you use these rules of thumb here, the swag method. I use it just as a benchmark for me to say, I've done my heat loss. Well, what is that BTUs per square foot? Or what is that per cubic foot? Bingo. That just gets me to make sure that I've made double check my sizing is right. I've run into some of these shops where I've run into, I mean, you're talking 100 BTUs per square foot because of that. And how would you like to do 100 BTUs per square foot on uniform? Yeah, I mean, it's hard. So it's just, you gotta be careful. Basically, the BTU input is the efficiency of the unit. Because these things are not 100% efficiency. So you got your BTUs, but then you got to calculate they're only 80%. So you got to have 20% to that factor that you've got, that you've just done your heat loss. And then you got to worry about altitude duration. Because you got to remember, as we come up in elevation, we lose our amount of gas we can use to complete combustion. Because there's not enough oxygen in this atmosphere to do that. Now, our atmosphere here, 3,200 feet, we're losing about 14%.
The thing that you guys will do is you look at the 75 and not at the output. Okay? If you go rule of thumb 50 and it's
We
75,
talked about that when
I
they were
think
doing it.
output go to, 100 output will cover the 75,000.
We were
That's
talking
the big
about that when they
thing.
did that, car wash roundup. I came to you about that guy putting that heater in. He's got impact in altitude.
So if you look at that calculation there, it's 65,000 BTUs, 82%, because again, we're at 82. I always figure 80 because I'm not much of a mathematician, unless I got a calculator. 79,000, we got a D-rate for our gas, 850. Yeah, we do have 850 gas around here. Harlowtown is the worst around here. That's about what they are. So we're losing about 19%. So we divide that. So now we got a 97. So we went from a 65 to a 97 just because of altitude and efficiency. Now remember, if we want to change this into a 90%, 97%, or 96%, that's really going to go down in BTU. So you had, like just say, for instance, we had 100,000 BTUs, we could probably get by with a 75 at high efficiency because it's more efficient. So here comes the big one, is the present way we derate compared to what we used to do it. We used to do it half, and you two probably know it the best. You guys are pretty new, so you probably didn't remember. We used to change orifices. And man, how many pounds or how many hundreds of pounds of brass orifices do we have laying around still because of that? So we finally came up with an alternate method, and that's been reducing the gas pressure that goes to the unit. Typically, the column was set anywhere between 3.8 and 3.3 from the factory. So we don't know where it's at, but we have to readjust gas pressure according to elevation. Now, they came out with this big, long formula that is really complicated. So what you have to do is you have to take the actual BTU divided by what the BTUs are, square that. That's really funny because I told that to a plumber one time. He said, yeah, I got to square my truck. No, you got to square this formula. And then you take it times what you normally would have, and that'll give you your BTUs. So typically here in buildings, we're running between 950 and we can run as low as 930. So we have to go derate that according to that. We can't use the 1050 to derate off of. We got to use that 950 to derate off. So if we take a look at, and every one of the units comes with these instructions. Now, I bet you if I go to your warehouse There's a box back there that has all these instructions on it.
Because Randy told us. according to-
No, I told you to put them with every unit. Very simple to do. Just open when the guy gets it, picks it up, slides it in there. They won't read it, but at least it's there. There's an altitude duration calculation sheet in there to tell you how to go through all of this.
So
A lot of stuff.
I pay for this product, why isn't it put in at the factory? Why
Because
is it on me to put this?
we go from 0 elevation to 10,500 elevation. So how do we know where to set? We don't know. You guys here, you go from 3,200 to what? What's
1,800 to
that's right, because we got city.
Montana.
Yeah, that's right.
Blow your mind.
So yeah, so you have to worry about that. As far as duration goes, I have went through and done calculations. And I think you two have that. Still?
So yeah, everybody keeps taking mine, so.
Okay, well, I've got it in, I've got it, so I can send it to you again. So if you want me to send it to you guys, I'll be happy to do that. And I do have it for, just the Billings area. I have it just for the Belgrade
Oh,
area.
that chart?
Yeah,
Yeah, I got it.
yeah, you got it. So if you guys give me your cards, I'll make sure that that sends it to you.
Yeah.
It's not me, the guy, that's the guy.
You're retiring at the 15th?
15th today.
Okay.
Not till May. We're trying to get him in the loop here. So the next thing we're gonna go is we're gonna go to IBTs. This is the big magic heat system. It's really funny because infrared tubing heat, you know, if you stop and look at it, yeah, it's not that efficient. I mean, you got a 4-inch tube that you fire it into and it blows out right directly out the end. There's no really heat exchange. There's no really, you know, so if you actually looked at the AFAU rating, it could be as low as 60%. But the thing is the effective heat, whole different category on doing heat, is how many BTUs we're getting to the floor. It's infrared. It's like standing in the sun. What's it like when you go outside and it's 30 degrees and the sun's shining? How's it feel?
Good.
Really good, right? Well, that's the same thing we're doing here. Because that tube can run as high as 1,000 degrees. So, I mean, it can get pretty hot. And that's usually the first 20. After that, it cools down pretty good. But you can get a lot of heat out of these things. And remember, you're heating, like your radiant infrared heat, you're heating objects. You're heating a mass. You're not heating the air. I mean, you could go an infrared system and you can go there and the floor will be 65, 70 degrees, but it'll be 50 degrees in the room because of the fact you're heating that. So the benefits, of course, is that we went to direct spark ignition and we all had hot service for a lot of years. I checked our parts department in Denver and we sold one hot service igniter in 20 years. So they were pretty good. They weren't bad, other than what they used was the smart valve. That was the big downfall. And those things are stupid price now. Actually, they came out with a retrofit kit now. So you get that. And your constant thing is like 480
To go
bucks
to direct spark?
to go to direct spark. 480 bucks. No, leave the hot service. It's just a new valve and a new board.
Oh.
But it's like stupid price, you know? Why do that? I mean, I just was out on my friend's unit here and he had a hot service hot dog. I says, what do you want to do? Chuck it. Because why spend that much money on a 20-year-old unit?
Good new warranty.
You know, warranty and everything else. We have 2 cabinet sizes, which is really good for you guys because we have a 50, a 60, which is a smaller cabinet. And we can convert that from a 50 to a 60, either way or back versa. But the big thing is, what we stock here, you guys stock here, is 100,000.
We a team?
Yeah, we can do from 100,000, actually, we can do from 75,000 up to 175 out of that one cabinet by just changing a burner plate. That's it. So it's pretty easy to do it. It's really great for you guys to stock one SKU number and to be able to have all that range of BTUs available to you quickly. So other manufacturers, not so much. You have to order the tube length and the BTUs when you order it. So you're stuck. So that's really nice of them. We give you a little bit of advantage in installations, because not every tube needs to be straight, right? Sometimes we need to go out a certain length and then 90 up to go around a corner or to get out to another area. Or when we need a lot of BTUs per square foot, we can do a U-tube. So we can do a 40-footer, but it's actually only 20 feet. So now instead of getting 30 BTUs per square foot on the floor, we're gonna get 60 because we're gonna get twice the heat because of it. Now, that's not also necessarily true. We don't use that as a factor. It's the ability to go out and come back again and keep that heat more concentrated. It gives you more BTUs. And you'll run into that when you get to small areas, it needs a lot of BTUs.
So you don't really lose a whole lot of heat then whenever you're 90?
No,
It's,
it's still there. No, you won't. The only thing that you'll lose a little bit is that we don't use reflectors on the U-tubes. So you're gonna lose a little bit to the ceiling
On that U-bend.
on the U-bend. So it's not a big, it's a small area, I suppose, equivalent about 2 feet. So instructions on doing them are pretty straightforward. This is in every one of the manuals. It tells you how to do the hanger kits. If anybody's ever put one of these in, they are just, I mean, it's like slam down, thank you, ma'am. I mean, they go quick. You hang your hangers, you put your tubes in, put your reflectors on, and just move on. Now, the important thing about this is that I want to talk about is that when you connect those tubes together, yeah, they're a switched fit. They still need to be screwed together. Because on a 40-footer, it can move as much as 6 to 8 inches. So think about it, when you heat that up, you know, it's gonna move. So you have to be careful about that. And you gotta screw those together. I can't tell you how many times I've been to job sites and go, look, tubes come apart. Well, you didn't screw them together, did you? We sent you the screws, they're in their box. So there's no reason why they can't do that. And there's actually holes screwed in there. That's those little holes with screws in there. So. What's really nice about our burner boxes is that two things is that when you need to work on them and you're up 20 feet a year, what do you do with the panels? We actually have hangers. We actually have hangers for our panels. So you can take them off, hang them down low so you can work on them, so you don't have to worry about it. You've got access to both sides if you need it. Really, typically, yeah. Usually what happens with that is
You knock it off.
I knock it off. That's me. Yeah, it's up there. Then I reach for it, I knock it down on the floor, and bends the shit up. Hey, Randy, have you? Yeah. One thing we did mention, and this
The unit was missing when we
Yeah.
opened the box.
get that one a lot.
Right, it was damaged, it was bad.
there's a couple things here. No, one is that we didn't really discuss this, but that brings up a good point now. Number one is every one of these units is test fired in the factory. So if you get one, a guy says, hey, it didn't work, stay away, bullshit. He did something, so it doesn't work.
Or the unit heaters test fire.
Everyone is test fired. Now, if it gets to the point where they're telling you bullshit on the story, we can actually go back and get the computer printout of that model serial number, fired, how long it ran, and what it was doing. So, I mean, that's something to go to because they want to make sure they can't sell stuff that doesn't work.
Same with the furnaces too.
Yep.
The fires on them all.
It's
Supposedly fired.
Yes,
Too bad they don't have those faucets and every other.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be fun. The other thing that we didn't really stress on here is the fact that if you have a warranty mark, give me the model serial number, I'll order for you, it'll ship to you, or to your customer direct, no charge, no freight,
No paperwork.
no paperwork.
The best part of it.
And then, no, the best part. throw it apart.
Oh.
You don't need to send it back.
Oh, wow.
So that's Modine's thing, and I think that's the best in the
Because they
industry.
test it?
What's that?
Is that because they tested at the factory, so they know that it worked?
They know that it works.
That's
Yeah.
how you get free spare parts for the
Yeah, but be careful with that one. Because what happens if
Throw that out.
you use that model and serial number and you're on your third cat spell?
I don't need three, I just need one spare.
Just be careful with that.
I just threw that out. I've talked to a few people out there in the world that said, you know, this program is pretty damn good.
Well, know, for a guy that lives in Jordan, Montana, you know, maybe he might want to get some. Who knows? So, yeah, we're really good about that. But, no, it happens. It happens. And I know I've done it before.
That's why I'm literally like, they don't want that stuff back. Serious?
Nope. Fan motors, blades, we replaced whole blowers.
Walking more. Oh my gosh, trying to, I already threw that away. You want me to go dig through the dumpster and get it?
So again, if you take a look at this, again, we are water resistant, so we can use this in a car wash. We can use this in an airplane hangar. We can use this outside. So these are all weatherproofed, so they're sealed.
You say the airplane hangar,
Uh-huh.
is it a still combustion then?
Yeah, well, separated. There's no seal, such thing as seal combustion. Yeah, separate, yeah. Because you just come off the back of that unit right here.
Oh, yeah.
Just put your collar on, and boom, you're done. And then, of course, airplane hangars have their special rules. It's gotta be, I think it's 8 feet above a wing. You gotta be careful about where you're at with that stuff. Because, you know, the fuel is fairly volatile. I don't know, there's just all kinds of places and applications for this. that probably
Talking
can use.
about hanging them outside,
Yeah. Oops, see that again?
so they're weatherproof.
Weatherproof outside.
I got them, and there's one at the Top Golf in Denver.
Yep,
I got it right above the driving range.
yep.
Even if it rains.
Even if it rains, they're weatherproof. You can put them in car washes.
Really?
Matter of fact, you see some of the couple of units that I've seen, not mine, because I think I let it, but like, reverberate, I think reverberate, they didn't even vent it.
For what? Oh, they just let it-
Just let it fly out, yeah,
You don't say it into,
because it's in open space. I mean, I guess I understand
you
that.
don't say your order into a thing and radio.
Same with these, they've got model serial numbers. It's very important to get us that if you need warranty parts. We need to know that. All these numbers mean something to us. This gives us our gas code here. This gives us what gas valve is in there, what board's in there. So yeah, complete model serial number is really good. And the guy goes, why did I write it down? Yeah, you got a phone, right? What's on your phone? Camera, take a picture of it. It's so easy. Why write it down? I just, you know, some of these guys are pretty old school and then the one I get and say, write it down. Well, okay, wrong. Nope, they didn't read the number right. So, or they're like me and dyslexic and get all the numbers mixed up. So, this kind of gives you a picture of what a normal unit would look at. And remember, when we talk about 20-foot tube, we're talking about this length from here to here. We got to add that burner box on it. So that's about 12 to 15 inches. So you got to be careful about that. So, you know, where they fit. Typically wouldn't because we got such coverage on both ends that we don't have to worry about it. Here is our performance, what ones we can use in mounting heights. Again, these are all suggestions. Can you notice it says your mounting heights 22 feet, 14 feet? That's not really true. You can mount them as high as you want.
Recommended.
Recommended, but you know, if you put it at 16 feet, it's gonna work fine. It's just gonna take longer for the heat to get from that infrared to the floor. That's all it's gonna do. I mean, how far is the sun away from us?
Right.
So, I mean, it heats Earth. So, you know, that's the way this stuff works. So you can get those in different ones. Now, this one here shows 200,000. Do not ever sell a 200,000. They have issues. And they don't work good in our elevation. And I'm talking 3,200 feet. So it's 175 and one down. So don't ever sell a 200. A lot of people call me up, hey, I want a 200, blah, blah, blah. So I'm sorry, I can't tell you what. But is 25 BTUs going to make a difference? No. Probably because it's oversized to begin with. So put a 175.
What do you think the reason?
It's has to do with air mixture. Because when we get up this elevation and the low gas BTU content, it's going to be an issue. We can't keep it lit. They keep blowing up. So we've had engineers in Denver.
Well, what, then, explain the 25 BTUs, what's the difference? The air sugar plate that comes with the 200?
It's just, and the orifice. So those two, and we've had engineers down in Denver at 5,500 feet, and we have one of these in our warehouse, and they can't get it to work in our warehouse. And they've done everything. They drilled holes, they restricted, they,
So big.
yeah, it's just, it's, so they just have issues with the 200s. So just don't sell them. It's not in the picture. That fact in mind, if you look inside of there, I put also a worksheet. And this is, you guys don't have to worry much about this, but if you want the size of the unit in here, this will tell you what you need to build that kit with. So that's all in here. So if you need a 75,000, you need to add this orifice kit and burner plate. And then if you want a 20-foot, what tubes you need? A kit, B kit, C kit. Gives you all the, this is something I did on my own. They don't have this. Tells you all about combustion air, the U-tubes, the 90s, all the part accessories. And then on the back kind of gives you a what should come with it. I get a lot of calls that, yeah, I didn't get all the reflectors, I didn't get all the deflectors inside the unit.
And then too, you go through the chip system, you put up the model number it is. It'll break down. and tell you what everything like that. No,
So anyway, if you take a look at this, this is what you do. Clearances to combustibles are important thing. Because between here and here, you gotta worry about shelving vehicles, not just combustion, but the paint and surfaces. So you gotta be careful. And you can see some of those clearances like that too, on this 175. You need like, what, 106 inches? That's a lot. So you're gonna have pretty tall ceilings. You know, a guy calls you and say, I'm gonna put this in my garage, 8-foot garage. Yeah,
Not a good application.
no, not a good application. So, you know, 10 foot is probably much minimum that you want to run into. Not a good residential
Maybe
application.
throw it on the wall and hang it up to 45 would be an option rather than hanging it out here.
You can do that. Do that. And then, of course, we got a couple of different options here. If you do use the YouTube, when you order a YouTube kit from the factory, they'll come with this cradle that will put the two tubes the right distance. Typically, we just go ahead and use the two cradles we come with, and then just not our own. We don't have that cradle. I mean, we can order it for you, but you don't really need it.
I'm trying to get, I gotta get the claim, see if we can't just bring in kind of like that YouTube, just the YouTube.
YouTube, yep. And we stock them in Denver. That's the other thing about us in Denver. We stock this stuff.
So you just.
We stock the infrared tube burners, 100,000. We stock the kits. We stock the burner, the tube kits. We stock unit heaters. So, I mean,
But the pricing is different.
oh, yeah, it's corporate tax.
It's lower.
Corporate tax. Corporate tax. You guys are lucky.
Like Randy gets retired.
Yeah.
This man.
Yeah, I wish. You guys are lucky because if you work for another distribution center or distribution place, so like when I worked at Thermal, and with him, he worked at Johnstone. If we ordered stuff from the DC, we had to pay 3.5, 3 points. Cost. So, you know, it's real disadvantage. You guys don't do that, which is fantastic. I mean, you can send us out to a branch, you doesn't have to pay an extra 3 points because you're stocking it here, you know?
So it's more in the, but than it is at the factory.
Yes.
So it's cheaper.
About 3.5%, yeah. But here's the other thing is, okay, so you're gonna order from the factory, right?
I always do that.
Then you got all this freight from the factory to here, plus you got anywhere from, depending on shipping. They got shipping anywhere from, 8 days to 20 days to get it here. We're getting. So that's the difference. Depends.
And that's the difference between your competition too, if they don't have it. If they gotta go to the factory and you can say, well, I'm never in the ballpark, but I can have it here in 2-3 days. They're like,
Speaking of competition, 100% of these are made in America. Some of the other guys, the big R, they're made in Mexico.
Even the control boards made here.
Texas.
Are they assembled in Texas or made?
They're assembled. Because you still got,
Keyword.
you still got chips, you still got components. That's the problem. So anyway, got to worry about mounting height. That makes a big difference. So heat loss, we're going to start talking about heat loss. So if we're looking for mounting heights, if we're going to take these units, we got to make sure that we got the right throw on these units. So if we look at that, we take the mounting height less 12 inches off the ceiling. We might have that for clearance. If you look back there, we needed 12 inches. 12 inches off the ceiling, 2 feet off the back wall. But if we take this and we take the mounting height times 1.5 and flat, so in other words, laying flat like this, that's the throw that you'll get out of that unit. And we're going to go through some examples here so you can understand it. So if you do a 45, you mount that at a 45, now all of a sudden that increases your throw up to 3.
Yep.
So that makes it really nice. But what happens when you do that 45 and you've got that much extra throw? Guess what? I still need those BTUs per square foot, so that's going to have to use a bigger unit because I'm using a 45. Because I got all that coverage, you got to have so many BTUs per square foot. And what I'm sure you have to think of this calculations in here how to do that. So here, if you take a look at this, here's an example that I did a 40 by 20 shot, 16 foot, 40,000 BTU loss. And we look at 1.5, we got 22.5 throw. That'd be from left to right and front to back. So in other words, you're looking at the tube, that's on the end bin, on the insides, that are 22 feet past, sort of, or like 11 feet on each end. And then thread from front to back will be the 22 feet. So if we take a look at that, we're going to know, we know we can throw, we're going to throw 22 feet. It's a 40-foot building, so we take that minus 40 foot. That means we got 17.5 feet left over that we need to heat. So we use a 20-foot tube. So we take a 20-foot tube times the BTUs per square foot. Okay, so we know what that is. And so 40,000 uses 41.8 BTUs. Bingo. Pretty much right on the money. We got that window, 30 to 50. And if that's going to work, then we probably got it. So in this example, we'd use a IBT 50 20 footer. That would heat that sufficient on a flat. It's very important to know the coverage. You don't want too much coverage because you don't want that to heat a wall. Wall's not a mass. That's a heat loss. Another place that you got to be careful of is the floor. What kind of floor is it? You know, typically we just a concrete floor. If it's insulated, that makes a big difference. The other one is that never, ever, and if you come to me and ask me, you want to use this in a dirt floor application like a horse arena or like a barn, go buy somebody's else. Example, we sold a big job up in Big Ten. And that wasn't with you guys, it's when I was with another wholesaler. The owner called up and just raised hell. He was pissed off. His first month bill in January was $10,000 per propane. So we go up and the guy said, you got your, well, hey, buddy, I'm sorry, you gotta insulate that floor, do something. So we go up and look at it. And there's probably, I think there was probably about 2 feet of snow all around the, laying on the ground. But 4 feet out, away from the building, it was all melted. Because what's that infrared do? It's heating the earth. You ever gonna heat the earth? No way. Absolutely no way. So you don't, hey, they don't work. I don't care what you do.
So,
they just-
yeah, I was going out.
Yeah, because it was heating the earth, and the earth was heating that, and it just melted all snow around the edge. I like that because he had no snow around the edge. He had $1,000 heating bill for 1 month. So we finally convinced him that he doesn't need to run it 24/7. Yeah, warm it up when the day before, shut it off when it gets done. Because unlike the other years, we don't care what the temperature is when we start it. It doesn't make a difference, other than they will grow. Remember, start heating that tube up, it's gonna move. So here's a kind of an example of a layout. This is a 60 by 40, the 16-foot. Notice we got some roll-up doors here. We got to take consideration. And this is kind of what we need when you tell us what we got. Windows, doors, that kind of things. It really helps. And insulation values. If you don't tell me, I'm going to assume the worst, which is R13, which is just your standard, 3.5 inch bathroom wall. Yeah. So if you don't tell me, garbage in, garbage out. So you need to tell me as much information as you can. So if we take a look at that design, so again, we got 15 feet, and then we're taking away a foot off the ceiling. Our throw's gonna be 22.5 feet, 45 is gonna be 45 feet. So now look, if we take a look at that, we've got, what we got here, 40 feet. So one heater, is that gonna work? At 22 feet? No, because we're gonna have too much loss in either end. So, okay, we can hang it at a 45, but where are you gonna hang it at a 45? You can't hang here to throw that 40 feet. So that's not really gonna be a good application. Again, we're not gonna get too deep into this, but that's what we do. We can help you with it. But we want you to get familiar with it so you know how to ask any questions. So if we do what tube length we need, we've got a 60-foot building minus a 22.5, takes 37.5. Anyway, we need a 40-foot tube. So what we want to look at is one heater. It's not going to cut it because, again, we're only going to cover this much here. Can't do a 45 because we can't do it that way. Now, some people say, well, I'm going to put a heater here and shine it this way. Well, that's 60 feet. We can't throw 60 feet. So what we have to do with this one, we have to use two heaters. 22.5, 22.5, that gives us up 40-foot coverage. We're going to get a little bit over coverage. We're going to heat some of the wall. But again, this is what we got to do to get those BTUs per square foot to the ground. So what we would use on that, we would be hanging at 15 foot above finished floor. We'd use a couple of 75, 40 footers to heat that. Now the guy's he's really complaining because he's got to buy 2 units.
And vent twice through the season.
We have been twice in the season. Now, you can see here what I did is this is your best application. So you have your burner at opposites in because that way the heat's all balanced. A lot of guys will put the 2 burners together. Okay, that works fine. And that would work probably this application because you put both burners here. So you got low heat down here. You don't have to worry much about that because this is where your biggest heat loss is going to be, bringing cars in and everything else. So just the little games you got to play on where you're going to put these things. Again, that's up to the contractor how he wants to do it.
You wouldn't do it. You wouldn't do it. You've been
You've been in the middle of a 45. But again, that would be like, well, see, we need a 40 foot, an 80 footer. So I might get by with a 60 or even maybe a 70 and try that at 45. But again, at a 45 here, we're going to be throwing 45 feet out this way. We only got a 22-foot throw. So we're going to be heating, this high up the wall, all that's going to go out. It's not getting to where it needs it, on the floor.
okay.
So, yeah, probably not a good application. The other thing, if you do 2 units and you do like we talked about, the both burner boxes at the same end, if you want to common vent them, you certainly can. You can take the 2 4-inch and the 6-inch and out the row. The only thing you have to do is make sure thermostats are tight. Or one thermostat, I should say. Because you're going to have one thermostat control both. Because you have one come on and the other one tries to come on, it probably won't come on because it can't develop the pressure.
But then you don't have that balance, like you said, I have one burner box down here, one down here.
Yeah, you wouldn't have the balance either, yeah. No. So,
But still a good application.
yeah.
That was the same thing.
My favorite one is, and Barry's not here, so I'm gonna take it out. What is that, pots, water? We put infrared tubes in him, and he common vented his, 2 thermostats. And run into all kinds of problems, keep them running. And that's you can't do that. You gotta have them both come on at the same time. Which is not really good, because you want spot heat. 'Cause all of a sudden, if you don't need heat over here, why have this unit run? You may have all the heat here because this is where most of your traffic is going to be. That door may never be used, so spot heating is a lot better.
Is that because of the pressure switches?
Yeah, pressure switches, yeah. Because what happens, you got one
Why didn't you
positive,
put a backdraft damper in and see if it worked?
well, because they got restrictions and,
I'm just saying.
yeah, I don't know, I've never done it.
Can we
Again-
try that?
If you want to try it, great, but if you call me and say it doesn't work,
So,
yeah, I don't know. We've never done that. I don't know. A backdraft damper.
you know what I mean?
Or
Block.
500 degrees, so
Let's do.
I don't know. I don't know what it makes.
I'm just.
Yeah, I don't. So, if we're gonna do a unit heater, again, we gotta worry about what model we're gonna choose so we can throw that heat and get that heat where it's supposed to be. Again, we need 96,000, so we're gonna be somewhere between the 100, the 125, the 100's a little short. But the 125 is probably a good thing. If we look at it, it's gonna throw 60 feet. So, we're gonna be able to cover this area. So where would we put those heaters? And a lot of guys will put them in the corner and blow them out this way. Well, that's fine, that works. You just got a little bit farther to throw the 60 foot. Remember that 80% rule. As long as you're throwing 80% of that or 75, it would work. Or this is probably the best application for this right there. Blow onto this way to 60 feet. Because that'll leave it. And heat that shot with 125. So here's that application that Matt was showing, where we had all this toys in the garage, in the nice workshop. What are you gonna do? The only thing you really can do in that application is the unit heater. You want to place it right here. You never want to put it, and I'll show you in a little bit. You never want to put a unit heater next to a garage door. Okay, I worked at Thermal for 8 years. Guess where all of their unit heaters are located? Right next to the garage door. They had an engineer, our engineer that worked for us, design this building. And that's wrong. Because every time you go in the garage door, what are you gonna do? You suck all that cold air across that heat exchanger and go there. What you want to do is have that heat exchanger blow against those garage doors to pressurize it, to keep that cold air from coming in. Like an air. Very good. So in that application, I would put that unit heater right there. Go right straight out here. It's going to be able to take care of this side over here. It's going to get heat over here. Not as much because you're going to have that big RV there, but you don't need a lot of heat. Because you don't have anybody working on it. Here's another layout. Again, infrared. Because 16, same scenario. We got an 80 foot, so we looked at like we're going to need 60 foot tube. So we're going to use two 60 footers again. Now, why did I do that? Remember I told you I wanted those two different separate heats? Because there's not much heat loss down here. But there is down here because we've got all the garage doors and the windows. So that's where I would put two burner boxes together. That's where you could common vent that if you wanted to. Would I common vent it? No. I like zoning. Because that means you're using half the BTUs you really need. And probably most of the time, from probably like 32 on up, one heater is going to heat that building. No problem. Yep, spring and fall, in the wintertime. Then, or the guy that does night setback comes in the morning, turns it on, which is really stupid for rated. What do you do in floor heat?
Overshoot.
Yeah, you overshoot. So it gets too hot and then you overheat it. So if I could do a unit heater, I would probably do 2 unit heaters. Because of the fact that it's so big and so wide, and we don't have much of a throw there. We got a 60 foot throw, so we probably use 2 unit heaters. And again, what are we doing? We're blowing against this door. That's what we want to do. We use 2 PDP 200s. Layout number 4. So, and there's a worksheet. I want you guys to go in there and try to just give me an idea of how you would like it. That sheet's in your hand. So just go in there and tell me what you guys think. What would you like to see in an application like? How would you lay this out? with an infrared or two unit heater, how would you do it? Any input? Yes,
2 infrareds.
Yep.
Flip, power pins on opposite ends and both hung in the center, 45 out, shooting towards all the cold air.
That's a good application. Remember, the building's only 40 foot, so if you hang it at 45 at 15 feet, well, this is a 20-foot building, you're gonna have way too much throw. So you might better off flat. Put them exposed to the garage door flat, because that way you're gonna get your coverage. 45, you're gonna heat so much up the sidewall that you're losing all that heat. So the whole thing you gotta think about is,
That's the other thing. Question to the guy. Is this, are you opening up the doors all the time or are they shut? 2 guys, I'm opening them up constantly versus, nope, you only open up, right?
right.
So you need to know that kind of thought.
That many doors are probably opening up all,
Yeah, it looks like it, you know, that many shop
but just ask.
Yeah, just
doors. The more info, the better.
more info you get. And now unit heater, what would you do for unit heaters here?
Put none on that left wall.
Exactly right.
Towards
then
Shooting
straight.
towards this way, you know, this way. Not close to the door, put them in. You may use 2 of them, again, because you can zone it. Guys go, oh, I don't want to spend the money for 2 unit heaters. Well, 140,000 BTUs. Number one, you don't want to have all your eggs in the basket.
How about the placement of the thermostat?
Placement of the thermostat usually is located underneath your return air, so wherever it's coming back. On the infrareds, they're probably located on a wall that doesn't see direct vision. Infrareds, you want that thermostat, so if you got your units mounted here, you don't want to put the thermostat there, because it sees that reflection, so it's gonna all faltering. You want to be around the corner. You want to be an opposite wall, someplace where that wall doesn't shine. It shouldn't be in the line of sight of the infrared. Sometimes that's hard to do. Sometimes on unit heaters, they're hanging down from the unit heater itself. Because do I want to mount that thermostat here? No, you probably want to mount the thermostats clear down here. Because you don't care about it, because you're just going to be blowing against it, so it's fine. There is a bad placement right there. It's a perfect example of what I was just talking about. No unit heaters next to here. The unit heater should be up here going this way. Guys get that? I mean, I know this is a little bit hard or a lot of information, but I think once you start getting into it and doing a few of them, it'll come pretty easy. It really will. And use us. Let us help you work through that. So, because, you know, pretty soon Matt's gonna be so busy because he just got more territory. He may not be available, so you may have to rely on yourself to work through it. And if you work through it and you go, I'm not sure, you absolutely will help.
So like here too, on that right wall, like to me, it would make sense to, like if you're doing 2 unit heaters, put them on that right-hand wall, straight throw to the left wall. Cause at least you're not just blowing it like right out, but like you were saying, like an air, what would you?
Air curtain.
Air curtain.
Yeah.
So it's not going like straight out the, you know, straight out
The
the
door.
garage door.
Again, yeah, that'd be okay. You know, even put one in the corner here, one big one in the corner, blowing this way. Yep, a big one in the corner.
2 small or 1 large.
It depends on what you want to do.
And a lot of people are probably with 1 big, so they don't have to bend it,
Exactly right.
1 hole in the road.
Run 2 gas pipes.
So 150,000,
There's a lot more to install too.
150,000, so I probably use it 200,000, you know, going this way.
Like PDP
PDP, yeah, or PTP.
or the new one.
Yeah, the new one, yeah.
And in some big shops, you talk to the guy, like Randy said, they're told they put in ceiling fans to help
That's right.
move.
That's the other thing that we do too, is a lot of times when you get that tall a building, 20 feet, you get a lot of air stratification. So in other words, if we looked in here it's probably 5, in this particular room, probably it's anywhere from 3 to 5 degrees warmer up there than it is down here. Well, in a shop like that, it could be as much as 20 degrees warmer because that air stacks, and in the stacks, it starts coming down to get to the floor or heat the air. So a lot of times we can do a couple of things. Number one, we can put a fan switch just on your thermostat, turn it on, and that fan will run 24/7. Or you can put a thermostat up there. So when that temperature up there gets like 80 degrees, it'll automatically turn that fan on, even though the unit heater's not going, and blow air from it. Recover, we call that energy saver.
That's what they should do out in the warehouse, but they don't.
What's that?
That's what they should do out in the warehouse, but they don't.
Yeah, because I can imagine what it is up there.
If they do big enough, your life, it's all infrared heat.
Still the
Even
heat
two
rises. Still
I mean,
heat.
it's radiant, air movement ain't gonna do anything for you.
Well, no, they still run the tube heaters.
Yeah, but that's radiant heat. You don't heat the air.
See that, your guys' stick application here is that you're using those tube heaters as spot heaters.
Correct.
You're just trying to warm those loading docks up.
So then with the heat rising right there, why not turn the fan on just on the slow?
Well, it's just
If you
like,
could do ceiling,
so,
yeah.
in this case, back there by the sewer fittings, you got that unit heater right there by the garage.
Or-
What is that? What is that?
I don't know what it is.
That's
It's a
a
terrible
heater.
spot. It's long.
I'm gonna say that one like doesn't look like it.
It runs,
That's often boy.
they open that door, it runs constantly.
Yeah.
There's no heat over there whatsoever.
See, there would be perfect application for an infrared.
Right.
And we also make high intensity infrareds too for guys that really want spot heat, like right over the top of a shelf. So in other words, it's got an open flame, but it then, so you have to be careful where you put them. You can't use them in the shop or places like that where it is an open flame. So that's what we have. We owe you some derating charts, so we'll get those to you.
I got two patio heaters that got returned.
Yeah.
They're propane.
Right.
Can we convert them to natural to get rid of them?
I'm trying to get them to return for you, but they're dragging their feet.
I'm
Big
sold
time.
if I can.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm just, but I've never done it. I said, I don't know if we can or we can't because.
I see why not. Let me get a hold of technical and all that.
I mean,
Let's see, we don't make those.
oh,
We buy them from, I don't know,
oh,
somebody
I
else.
thought, well, shoot, if I can convert them,
Yeah,
I'll blow them out.
okay. I'm still waiting on an RMA since December. Because we don't make them, so they have to go
I'll
to the manufacturer to get them. So, does this open some windows of opportunity or just open some, like, doing this business? I'd rather.
You get a see Mike, he's in the
Just
corner.
Unit heaters and stuff. I always got friends asking me about those. What would cost, I see those in every, a lot of people have those and they're awesome. So I think it's just to like know placement and,
Yeah.
cause that's what they always ask me, like, what would you use? And
Have been on correctly. Yeah, that's a big thing. To me, I don't want anybody on the horizontal, and I vertical vent everything. I mean, it's pretty easy to seal.
don't punch it.
What's that? Yeah, but
Let's, this thing, can we do that?
Yeah.
This would be, I mean, cool thing for,
anybody.
yes.
So basically, all you're gonna do is gather the information, the walls.
What, the design temp difference, what are you talking about?
Okay, so if you want it 70 degrees in there, it's -20, 90 degrees TD. If you want it,
Indoor.
Yeah.
Outdoor -20.
Yeah. -20. I know we're not -20 here. Our ASHRAE rating is like -5.
Them are the key information
Yeah.
that throws a guy trying to figure these out. Is, walls, okay? And then exposed floor perimeter, just the perimeter of the,
Yes, perimeter, right?
okay?
So it's pretty straightforward. I mean, and then all you gotta do is figure out what
And that's this,
your values here. Now, if somebody gives you an R value, we base all of our BTU losses on U values. Well, R value is just the R value divided by 1. 1 divided by the R value. So that'll give you a U value. So, and that formula is right at the top.
So on the cubic feet,
Right.
design temp was the same outdoor, the air changes.
Okay, and I said 2 to 3?
Yep, that's what I was gonna say,
Yep.
just always use 2 to 3.
2 to 3?
What was that, Ernie?
On the air changes.
Changes.
2 to 3?
So that would be like a newer name.
Basically, yeah, it just has to do with the cubic volume and how much air we need to supply that to make sure we heat it.
Put it on paper.
So, now, that number 2 to 3, that's
This
really
really comes
very.
into troubleshooting one that don't work. You gotta realize. Okay, let's put them on. Let's see.
Now, as far as air changes go, that one are normal, but if you get like that building we just looked at, that's back there. This one here, and these garage doors are open and closed all the time, it's, you know, a mechanic shop. You know, sometimes that air change can have to be way higher. Because you're gonna open that door and like, cold air's gonna come in. So you might have to have it high, it's 10 air changes. So again, it's
That's
something.
with the 2 Peters, it's like a radiant floor, and floors, and benches and all that are warm, so when they're opening and closing the doors, it recovers quicker because that floor didn't drop 10.
So that's
A bad application is on that 6 door one. To me, that's a waste of money, in my opinion, because you got a unit heater in there, and if he's open and closing,
Yep.
all, it just sucks all that because it's stratified. All your
We're gonna have 2 unit heaters off that on center.
freezing is.
You can aim one towards those doors and one towards the other.
Yeah, I would put 2 of them, one at 45, this one, one at 45.
That makes sense because that's.
Not just the most straight out.
And your guys is, when you start looking at things, yeah, the 2 Peters might be more money, but it's gonna save him his fuel bill. If you, like Randy said, if you can get to the guy that's paying the bill, or he's not stupid. He wants to know why I want to put 2 Peters in there.
Because you have to dance. Because you're thinking just do it.
Yeah.
You can't U-bend, you can't hang U-bends like this. It's the same.
No. No, a lot.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're just gonna run 2 tubes, and you're gonna take 1 at 45, that's good, 145.
the reflector, to the reflector.
Turn them very
Those
quick.
go into the.
Yeah.
There's another.
But again, if you want to throw a lot of tubes, then you would put it at 45 and then shut it down.
Well, I was wondering, in a situation like that.
That's a 45.
You could, one down the middle, yeah, you could do that. Yeah, that's, again, there's really not a lot of options here you can do. At 140,000 though, you're gonna have to probably put a 175 in there. And again, because of the lake here, so that's 50 minus 12, so that's what? 40, 42?
38.
38. So 38, and you gotta take that times 1.5 to get how long a tube you need. So 38 times 1.5. What is it?
38.
Yeah,
57.
57. So, but we've only got right there 48, so 58 and 47, that's not much of a throw. So in that particular application, we might have to, you know, go with like maybe a 40-foot tube, U-tube, and use that. But that would work good. Yeah. I mean, there's all kinds of options you can do with this. Talk to infrared too, talk to Brown's Automotive up there.
Mhm.
They had unit heaters. We put one infrared in there. And now all the mechanics are fighting over that bay because the floor's warm. When they get down on there, the floor's nice and warm, you know, they get underneath it, you know, if they pull a car in there, the unit heaters, underneath that is cold.
Yeah.
No. Well, what else, what other questions you guys might have? I mean, this is a lot of information. I don't know, is this something you guys think that might work for dealers? Or is it too much?
I think it'd work for, if you had some guys that actually do their own. shit.
And we're happy to do. it.
The rest of them, you know, you live the world, we are, they get paid expert wages, but we do all their I'm serious. You know,
Yeah, we
there's
made,
too many of them, and that's what's happening in the world is nobody wants to do the due diligence and earn their label.
the thing is, they're charging anywhere from what, 150, 175 bucks an hour? What are we charging for our
Yeah,
units?
and then they'll tell you, well, I need to know,
It's just a service.
I want you to size the gas line. Put the heaters in.
That's, yeah, why do I need to do that? I mean, you better know how to do that. So,
I mean, that's.
but again, what you said, it's the service we provide. That's the reason why they come here. It's the reason why they don't go to, RSD, because they don't do that.
Loading heater on your coast higher, so I went to RSD. You get the point?
That's so frustrating.
That's gonna shit them up.
That's-
That's slit their throat and they ain't doing business. I mean, that's what you get used and abused too, but you'll learn from the customers and everyone, you don't do business. Because
You
they're
do the
not.
very minimum for them.
And it's not a secret. Okay, I mean, everybody knows that we're higher in price, but generally we're higher in price, but we offer services that other companies don't. So
Nobody, well,
Go to Johnny Film Supply, I have to go over there and get a part for something.
all right, so I'm not there anymore.
You know how many times I come down here after hours?
Oh, yeah.
Do I charge $100?
No, they-
It's 125 now.
I know. I'm seriously.
Does that go right out into their person's
Luckily,
pocket?
4 or 5 times a
Yeah,
day
taxes come
compared
up,
to
it's
people running one.
So they're probably fighting over running down the other way.
One time so back in the day, we used to charge 45, many years ago. I had 22 calls a weekend. Next weekend, they went to 90 or 85. I'm like, are you kidding me? Because during the holidays, when it's cold, it's kind of nice to have the extra Christmas cash.
Oh, heck yeah.
But yes, it does, yeah. Those usually go back. It means everything's,
Again, all comes back to customers.
That's why I lived out of town, so it takes me an hour to get here.
I use that one all the time. No.
What other questions you guys got? I mean, it's a lot of information, a lot of things. We'll get you those derate charts. Do you want them just for the billing survey?
No, because we sell all over. I mean, if an HVAC guy in Wolf Point calls and wants a unit,
Okay, so I just did
you need to set your gas pressure at.
the Montana one I got.
Yep.
It's hard to read because there's a lot of cities and it's, I got it on one page.
You just look up the city of Detroit.
I'm going down to Sheridan on Tuesdays too.
Okay, I guess
Get
you're,
business going down there. So that would be, because like that Powder River heating. and
Yep.
AC.
We guarantee you those guys. are-
when you go there to,
What their gas pressure's always been, what they.
They just
set
spit.
up.
Yeah.
And then you see that chart and all, really?
if you run into those guys, you kind of charge. Don't be afraid to have them give you a call. I can explain it to them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I've done it with guys here in town where they're like, installation instructions say this, but if you read the permit, it says actual BTU, chart BTU, so everybody takes just the chart BTU, and they take 1050 on natural gas, that's at sea level, but you don't have the high altitude degradation.
try to call MDU
So,
and get the BTU content of your gas.
Just like Matt got back to the
They-
limit trip. They could be the gas pressure, the guy, well, I've always said it, 3.5.
Well, the Hooter rate that we had. Eli, what was it last week that we were, he was talking about that?
Just gussing them out there.
Yeah.
That's my little project with Eli. He comes to me and says, hey, I want to do this. I'm like, what are you doing? Well, I'm building smokehouse.
Yes.
That's what was smokehouse.
That house is.
What are you doing? Well, I got these 2 heaters. I'm like, what?
What?
I need, you got them right there. I want that burner. I'm like, what are you doing? Building a smokehouse. I want that burner. You gotta tell me how many BTUs I gotta raise my pork, my pan cure at 160. I need to know this room, I need to get it to 180 degrees to cure my hams. I'm like, at least Eli. I said,
That is the application.
Trying to tell those guys that.
thanks Barry for retiring, because
Yeah.
now I get all these customers.
Well, that's like yours.
Yeah.
And the,
So-
the chicken, the chicken thing,
The bullet barn?
they want to put them in, they want to put them in incubating room.
Yeah.
I don't know what that infrared is gonna do to that egg. I think it's gonna cook it.
Right.
Cause it's heating.
Be hard to hold, so I swaggered it. We're like, well, what's nice about our burners, Eli, is we can change the BTU content by a $80 kit. So let's go with the 150,000. He's got, I don't know how much tube, he wouldn't tell me in there. And he called me on Monday and said, guess what? And he got an electrician out because I said, I put on there, no warranty.
Right.
This is not the application for this unit, blah, blah. He says, I can get my smokehouse to 210 degrees Fahrenheit.
Oh, so he's happier than shit.
Oh, shit. He
I didn't
says,
talk to you on that. I didn't know that yet.
What tubes is he using?
now, huh?
He's just using plain old
He
4-inch?
had an old Cape Coal Rayback system that they're raising tubes. Guess what? I got a call yesterday from, guess who? Another hoop. So, hey, I got a line. Mine's this big. I said, I'm not in the, I can't tell the lows, dude. I don't, there's nothing. Well, you know, you did it work, but mine's half the size. I'm like, so it's like, so another one went out the door. Yeah. But
The thing about the power burners too is that power burner can sit on other people's tubes.
and that's what I was gonna say. I put them on existing,
Oh, as long as they're 4-inch.
Yep.
Now, I ran into one the other day that was 5-inch.
oh, but yeah.
Actually, the way you find those. So
Smoky.
You guys
that is a new installation.
Yeah. 'Cause they got it.
'Cause those tubes are glass, not at that temperature.
But they got an electrician that they're running it off of a, you know, temp stat or something. They can turn it, run it at whatever. Cause they need it at 180 to get the hams to 160 for curing. And that's what's going on in the smokehouse.
So they must have pans over it for this actual smoke pan or?
Not my world. Yeah, you know, I'm sure, like I said, if this lights on fire, I'm out of here. This is because, and he's like, nope, I'm good, but I want to try this. And I'm like, okay, I'm just, no warranty on the invoice.
Yeah, you run all kinds of.
Yep.
It's gonna be interesting. Well, not for me, not.
Like Ruben said, I hope I don't have to call the fire department. Yep, me too.
Oh, you just tell me if they come in.
Here's Matt's number.
Yeah.
Oh, so we're gonna walk in the window that thing by the fire, right? My girlfriend walking on, I'm like, I better wave. They were all, hey, Matt, and I'm like, she goes, you actually know him? I'm like,
Yes,
if you go back in the day, I took somebody else's cards and gave it all good rates. Because it happened to me. So they did it to me, so I did it to them, and it was funny, because, you know, they're calling all the time. They get a name and they're calling.
So what's your picture?
Oh, because he gave mine up. Lincoln's been calling me. Carrie did it to me, so I did it to him.
Because that one picture that they need to text you could turn into.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you don't know.
I thought this was helpful. I mean, not dealing with it every day. I'll probably still have to go to one of these guys whenever.
Yeah,
Get it in
once
there.
you start getting repetition of it.
That's just it. Yeah, we don't get
You're not doing it every day.
repetition where we're at. So I mean, that's what I run into. And like I said, I mean, a lot of the time you're not doing sizing anyway when you do
You
run
guys
into it
can
because they just call
still
us.
do like job loads. If it's over so many.
Are you,
As far as
are
units,
Like unit.
Randy, they do them anymore.
two or just one?
Not very,
Not very good.
depends on the quantities.
Honestly, it was
And,
basically just told me.
Yeah, they'll do them, but
This
it's,
is your baby, just
Harder
go
and
down
harder
there
and
and
harder.
get some business going, so they didn't really say.
I mean, I just did one the
what
other
it
day.
is. So I
You should stop in and go down.
I just know where he's going out in Wyoming. His brothers up there.
I've
Yeah,
done
yeah,
it.
it's-
The thing is, you're dealing with Sterling. Like, if you're trying to see